All right. So I'm pretty sure we're live now. I'm actually positive we're live. So thank you everybody for watching our show tonight. Tonight is episode number 84 of the Daytripper Photo Show. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're talking about software tonight. And why do we need it? What software do we need? How many different things of software do we need? And Darren, why is there so much frickin' software?
Because people make money selling software. And
break it right down.
I wish that they'd make the software in different colors, because then they could sell more different versions of it. Right? That'd be cool, because I don't like the version of Photoshop that I have because it's the wrong color. So I want a new version of Photoshop CC that's a different color.
Well, that's what GoPro did. They had the silver, the black, the white, right?
Yeah.
Now,
sure.
You know what? I think ultimately the point is there's so many different varieties of software out there, and each one has to do its own special thing for you to invest your money in it. I use several. I'm sure, Darren, you use several, many. I think pretty much what it works down to is everybody uses several if you're going to be getting into this as any kind of serious hobby or profession. But you know what? It really depends on what you're shooting that determines what software you're going to buy, right?
It does. It depends on who you are, what your comfort level is, what computer you have, what you've heard about, what you found out about, what you have money for. And so there's just so many different variables and things that we could do, or we could buy, or we should try, or we could go bye-bye.
Please go bye-bye. No, and then some of them are different speeds too. I mean, you can choose a software specifically because it just runs faster.
I don't think that's so much the case nowadays. There might be a few exceptions in that. Sometimes people think that they need the pro software, and they figure the pro software is better, and they'll spend the money for the pro software and then get completely lost and bogged down. They didn't understand that there were no features they're using in the pro software, and they're paying all this extra money for it. And it's got all these other more complicated things, and like the basic or other version, and that's part of the marketing ploy. Right? Mm-hmm. They want you to pay more money for the more expensive version, sometimes just because you might think it's better.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Software, all the different kinds, which one's right for you, what we've had experience-wise with the softwares that we use. First of all, though, my name is Brian Weiss. I run Daytripper Photo. We've had some really great things happening with Daytripper lately. The Daytripper Academy announced 2 new sessions, which I'm really excited about. Darren is running 2 of them, and Gabriel's running 2 of them, 2 different days. And if anybody's interested, please go to www.daytripperphoto.com. You can see it in my little 1982 pixelated header at the bottom of the screen here. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, check it out and be interested in what we're doing. We got lots of cool shows going on. We've done 84 episodes of this show. I still can't believe it. When we hit 69, I was impressed, but that's for a whole different reason. Also, if you like what we're doing, subscribe to our show. Click the little like thing if you're watching it on YouTube. Tell your friends about it. Sometimes we have some really cool guests on. Like right now, we have a really cool guest on. There he is, right there. Darren.
Hi.
How are you doing? Hey.
I'm doing good. Glad to be home.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, it's been a busy day. I've been all over.
Yeah, you travel everywhere. You what, 300 kilometers or something like that today?
Yeah, I did over 300 kilometers today just because trying to fit everybody in. A couple of people got charged mileage, and then another customer, well, can't say no to your regular customer. So
do what you got to do in this day and age.
You
just can't say no. Well, you can, but...
And actually, I like to say that I'm really surprised at this new product that I got. It was called Voodoo to You. And a little voodoo doll that I ordered online, and I ordered the Gabriel voodoo doll, and then I took the little pins and things and I started poking them in it, and the last 2 shows Gabriel hasn't been here for one reason or another, so all I can say is the Voodoo to You really works. So
wow.
If you have a boss that you don't like, Voodoo to You. I have no idea if that website exists right now. Probably someone going tick, 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 tick.
Gabriel's at home right now actually getting that website right now, the domain name. Screw you, Darren. I'm getting it. That was funny. Okay, so we should probably mention, unfortunately, Gabriel's not on the show again this week. He's got strep throat this week, so poor fella. I mean, he's just getting nailed left, right, and center with this stuff, and hopefully he'll be back soon. Good luck to you, Gabriel. Hope you feel better soon, my friend. And yeah, those voodoo things, it's not real. Darren's joking.
Well,
Please.
I don't know. They could be real, but I didn't order one, so that's all I'm gonna say on that. Oh, ow, ow, ow! Oh, I think Gabriel got one.
I just got a text. Yeah, tell Darren to shut up. Anyway, squirrel.
Squirrel.
Sorry. All right, so our show today on software. Let's get right to the nitty-gritty of it. What do we need software for? Why do we need software? Like, seriously, why do we all need so much software? What is it that we do?
We've got to look at the premise that if building engineers built buildings the way software engineers engineered software, then the first woodpecker that came along would destroy civilization.
Okay, you got to explain what you mean by this.
So somebody invented hardware, a computer device. Back in the days of NASA, it was, to do complex calculations. And then somebody said, well, we've got to write a way to make this hardware work. So, and enter the world of software. And then as they made the hardware able to do more things, people said, well, we can throw more software packages at it. Now with the advent of digital photography and the angle that we're getting at into software is photo editing software. So we're actually in a little specific niche because there's tons of software out there, just goes in all fields. But really the end result of software is to take an image that you've recorded with your camera, and there's even software in the camera, but to take the image you've recorded in your camera and then spit it out into some way that either makes it look exactly like you saw it or the way that you wanted it to be, or, hey, I didn't know it could do that. That looks cool. Right, so there's different ways that we can use the software.
Are you reading Joseph's comment?
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain that too.
I'm not sure what he's talking about, but talking about 3D printers, which are more hardware, so they're going to be coming up with more software for the hardware.
You can make a Macreo 3D selfie made as a perfect replica with a 3D printer. Yeah, it's true. Actually,
I guess I don't know what the Macreo 3D selfie is.
I don't know what that is either, but the 3D printer concept just absolutely enthralls me. I mean, I remember watching The Fifth Element, and they used those little things, and they made the girl, out of this little material. And now they're doing that basically to make products and hinges and bolts and devices that hold things together. Brian Steves in our camera club, he has 3D printers making all these little video camera support systems and iPhone holders and so on. And this is all controlled by software. So the software we're talking about again is, yeah, squirrel. Thanks, Joe. This is my copy of Adobe Lightroom 4. I will be picking up Lightroom 5 shortly because of the differences that it makes, and this is an interesting point.
Oh, you're so antiquated.
I know, totally, eh? Oh, voodoo doll. Yeah, I think that's what Blake says, a voodoo doll, so you can print a voodoo doll, maybe. I don't know. So as far as the software goes, I picked up Lightroom 4. I had Lightroom 2, and I have Photoshop Creative Suite. Now, Darren and Gabriel really had to drag me kicking and screaming into Lightroom world. I was heavily entrenched in Creative Suite. I had it since CS2. I had CS2, 3, 4, 5, and now I have CS6. And I became very savvy with the software. I mean, not to the point where you have RC Concepcion and Scott Kelby and these guys where they're masters in teaching these things. But everything I needed to do, I could do in that software. I was very comfortable in it. And, of course, when I moved to Lightroom, now it's a whole different thing.
It's not a whole different thing. It's exactly the same thing as Bridge, but better.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. Bridge is a file management part of the Adobe platform. So you have Photoshop Creative Suite, and you have all these other versions of Adobe softwares, and one of them is Bridge, and that's where you manage your files, and that's where you pull your stuff in, move it there, and totally organize everything that you have in your computer. Is that right, Darren? I'm asking it because I've never used Bridge. I've actually never opened it. I found it very slow, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me.
You've used Bridge 100 times. You told me that's how you used to bring in your photos. You'd open up Bridge and get them in, and...
Nope.
Was not you?
Nope, not me. I didn't use Bridge. I just literally would open the photos from a RAW file in Camera Raw, edit them there. Whatever I worked with, I would open up into the actual Photoshop and finish there.
Okay, I got you confused with somebody else. You know, all you white guys.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah, so totally thrown for a loop now. But oh, it's okay. So Joseph clarifies this. This is a new photo company in Woodbridge that takes multiple images and makes a statue of you. It's perfect but smaller in scale. That would be awesome to get of Darren. I think we should all have one made.
Well, it comes into, you know, more hardware. So you got the 3D scanner, and then you've got the software to run the 3D scanner. So the 3D scanner to scan yourself three-dimensionally, and then print it out in the 3D printer. But there was it King Tut's tomb. They're doing 3D replicas of it because in the last few years, with all the people going in there, the breath from everyone breathing is ruining it. So it's been around for thousands of years, and now it's about to crumble into total decay, so they're now scanning it and reproducing it. So there's a good use for software.
Yeah, there you go. There's a lot of good use for software.
Nikon just came up with new software for their D800 and D800E camera. It's funny. I just posted something a couple of days ago about this gosh darned annoying. You take a photo and then the memory access light stays on and the camera just basically goes into pause mode for like 30 seconds or more. And every once in a while, just do it randomly for no rhyme, no reason. It wasn't limited to specific memory card manufacturer, CD or CF card. It really didn't matter. And you know, I looked around on forums, and a lot of people had recognized this. And Nikon never said anything about it. And that's Nikon typical. They're like GM with the ignition switches that shut off, and people die, and they don't say anything about it because they figure it's cheaper to we'll just sell them a new car. But anyways, I digress. So they just came up with a new firmware update that basically fixes that issue. That's about the only useful thing I could see, other than they've also allowed you to reprogram the movie button that's up near the shutter.
I suppose that's functional for some people.
So,
and this is a thing, firmware is a type of software. Firmware is a patch basically you load into your camera that gives it new life.
And that's what makes your camera work. It's software. They could engineer a software update for the D800 camera that would make me really happy to create the user sets that Canon has engineered in their cameras. So I could program all the things into my custom shooting bank, my custom settings bank. I could have them set to my settings, and then I could reset them to my settings. Or give me a choice. Do you want to go back to Nikon default settings or to your previously applied settings? I want to go back to my settings. Thank you.
So I will hashtag Nikon in the notes for this, and hopefully they'll see these comments, and then when they make the changes, they'll send you an email, and the next thing you know, you'll see Darren floating by in a bunch of balloons, all happy. Yay! Because you've been talking about this for years.
I mean, Canon went and did a firmware update on the 7D, and they made it basically into a new camera. It was faster, it did more, had more functions, had more features. So that's a real cool software update for your camera. But getting back to photo editing software.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big differences, one of the reasons why I would even consider new software, and the point I was making earlier was I've been the type of person to, only buy the new software when I really found that there was a feature that I was missing. One of the questions I always ask myself is, what can I not do now that I need to do? And if there's something that I can't do, I'll get software to do that. I'm not the type of person just to go out and buy new software because it's the latest edition or it's a new version or, everybody's buying it, the cool kids have it. It's kind of not how I roll. So, plus I work retail, so it's not like I can afford to buy every piece of software that's out there. Anyway, long story short, I picked up Lightroom 4 begrudgingly. I missed Lightroom 2, Lightroom 3, all that stuff. Finally, I got Lightroom 4, and I love it. I really, really like it. I love the file management flow. I love the fact that you can do file management, you can do photo editing, you can make photo books, you can share slideshows. It has a lot of functionality that I haven't even touched into yet. So that's what I'm excited about the software, because there's always more I can learn. And when I see folks like Darren and Gabriel, and then even like Blake was over yesterday, and he was helping me do some editing on some photos, maybe speed up my process, which I'll talk about in a minute. But when I see you guys doing some of the things you do with the cloning, with the ability to all the select tools that you have at your fingertips, and you understand how to use them, it really gives me hope to know that, yes, I have the right software, because if I can't do it today, then maybe this is something that I can still grow into and still learn more about. Make sense?
Yeah, it does, but don't buy software and then don't use it. That's really a bad investment.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I use it. I use it for everything I do, but I don't delve into it to the point where I know everything about it right away. You know, like I know that there's stuff that I can still grow into down the road. It's not a matter of just, you know, I never use it. I use Lightroom all the time. I love it, and I'm learning new tricks about it all the time too. But you can always learn more, and that's what I like, a software that isn't going to limit what you do. So, for example, I played around with On1. I played around with some of the other softwares. One of them I'm going to talk about later on. It's a software that Henry's just started to carry. It's called MacFun. It's specifically for Mac computers. It's not made for Windows computers, and it's easy kind of mini softwares. One is, what do they call it? I think I wrote it down here. I'm sorry, I'm gapping on this for some weird reason. Snap, Heal, and Intensify. So Snap Heal is just a really quick way. You open up a photo, and if there's something in there you want to remove, you just draw on it, and when you're done, it's gone.
Yeah, but you can do that in iPhoto, so what's the big deal? You get that for free with your iMac.
It's the simplicity of it. It's the interface. It's the and iPhoto doesn't necessarily have that. And to be honest with you,
it does.
I never use iPhoto because it's too slow. It really slows my computer down. So I can't. Since I've had this computer, what's that? 3 years now. I've never even opened up iPhoto. So I can't say that I'm an authority there. But anyway, that's what Snap Heal does. It's one plug-in software that does one thing, and then you have Intensify, which does exactly what the name says. I mean, it bumps everything up. It gives you a lot of control over color and contrast and bold, saturation, and all these different effects, and it's a lot of fun. But it's limited to just that one thing. Now, the nice thing is it's $80 for the pair, and it comes on a little SD card. You load it in your computer, and there you go. So it loads fast, it works fast, it's easy to use, and it's cheap. To me, that's a pretty safe bet with software, but the minute you start getting into it, the minute you start trying to do funky things, you're thinking, gosh, I just wish I had this, or I wish I was able to do this. And then you have to go and use different software. So having software like Lightroom or Photoshop Creative Suite or one of these all-encompassing softwares that does a lot of really great things, to me, is actually better value than spending less on software that you'll still need excess stuff for.
And I guess it depends on your budget and who you are, what you've grown comfortable with. Some people like Google Picasa. I think they still make that.
Yeah, Picasa is free.
It's free. It's got some great features in it. Very limiting in some ways. If you've ever learned how to do more advanced things, then of course you wouldn't want to go back. But if you haven't learned the advanced things, then you don't know what you're missing. So it works. It works great, and it's free. So I like things that are affordable, well supported. You can get a lot of help on, so you can always go online and ask Google, hey Google, what happened to this, or how do I make that work? And you can get a lot of help on it. On the MacFun, I'm not sure how many people use it. If you run into a problem, I'm not sure what their support would be like. There's not as many Mac users in the world as there are PC users. So there's billions of PC users. There's only a couple million Mac users.
I don't know any of the numbers, but I'm one of the Mac users, and I'm very, very happy with my Mac. But it's funny, like Blake even says, most important thing to consider for software is user interface. If you can't figure it out, it doesn't make sense to you, it's not right. Doesn't matter how powerful it is, how fast it is. If you can't navigate it, it's useless. And there's a lot of people who get very intimidated by these more advanced softwares. Like Darren, you could admit that, we've said this before, you teach Lightroom, you teach Photoshop Elements, you teach how to use these things, and you could have a different course every week for years and never run out of things that you could teach.
Oh, absolutely. There's just so much that these programs can do, especially Photoshop, and even Photoshop Elements. There's just so much that software has that it can do. And if you just start digging into it, oh, I can do this, I can do this. Oh, look, wow, I can do that. I didn't know I could add this. And
this is why some people really like Picasa or really like Snap Heal and all these other smaller programs that are fast and easy and very simple interfaces.
Well, I mean, there's also Instagram and those kinds of things that'll automatically upload, publish your photos. The Google site has the auto enhance feature, which can do some of those things. Google, had that, automatically stitches photos together for you to create the auto awesomes.
Google Awesome is pretty awesome, except the snow.
I'm sure it's not going to be long before you just draw in a little area, say, I don't want this, and Google Auto Awesome will remove it for you.
You've just given them an idea. You should have saved that for our software. What's wrong with you?
So I guess we should look at the different types of software that there are out there.
It's a good idea.
There's software to organize your photos. So to find your photos, to rate them, to categorize them, to put keywords, tagging. Then there's software that will convert your raw files or do basic brightness, contrast adjustments, and some basic cropping.
Now, why would you need to convert your raw files? Why is that something people would do?
Well, a raw file is an unprocessed picture. It's just basically ones and zeros stored on the memory card of all the settings recorded on the camera. There is no actual image other than there's actually a JPEG image embedded in that raw file.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not actually an image until you do the editing. A JPEG file coming out of the camera has already been processed and edited, and the ones and zeros have been turned into colors at different locations, which is, like the painting, as we would say.
Mm-hmm. And so, it has to be deciphered. It has to be translated into English.
It has to be deciphered. So if you are shooting in RAW, then you're going to need a RAW converter. If you don't need the RAW converter, then just the basic editing and cropping.
Gotcha.
And then you get into pixel pushing, where you want to add something to the photo, you want to take out something from the photo at more than just the basic level. I want to take, a scene that has no flowers, and I want to take a scene that has a pile of dirt, and I want to take another scene that's a nice, vista which look good with a garden, and then assemble a garden, right? So then you're compiling 2 or 3 images together to make one image.
Pixel pushing, I like the term.
Pixel pushing, yeah, and that would be your Photoshop and Photoshop Elements type of software that, in addition to, other things, is more of a pixel pushing software.
Right.
And then there's Photo FX software.
That's the fun stuff.
It is the fun stuff. It's stuff like On1 software and Nik software that'll take an image and super enhance it, make it black and white, super saturate the colors, remove noise, do all sorts of cool and funky things to your images.
Right.
And then we've got stitching and blending software that will take multiple images and stitch them together to create, a larger image, higher megapixel image, a wider image if you didn't have one, 360-degree spinning tours that I do, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are different types of software. So if you're doing stitching software, you might need to do some pixel pushing and, still need to file manage it and then add some photo effects to it. So you could be using 4 different types of software, to ultimately do one thing to your image.
That's great. It's a good breakdown. So we have file management, we have the raw converter and basic editing and cropping. We have pixel pushing, so that's the adding and removing things, pushing pixels from here to there. Photo effects, which is the fun stuff. It's where, like when I'm making a photo of the wrestling photos I do, I'm using file management to bring all the photos in. I'm using my raw converter, which is all built into Lightroom, because obviously I have to work with those photos. I'm doing some pixel pushing because I'm blacking out the background and I'm, making it really, really dark in the back. I'm adding some photo effects because I bring it into Silver Effects, Nik software, and make it black and white. And then, of course, for stitching and blending, well, I don't do a lot of that other than panoramics. So usually for stitching and blending, I'll use Photoshop Creative Suite for that. But I believe Elements does that as well.
To some limited degree, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are some things that Photoshop is better for. If you're shooting, raw files and you're trying to stitch together a panorama made out of raw files, Elements is not a 64-bit operating system, so if you got a larger camera, like my D800, it's crashed Photoshop Elements a couple of times.
I'm not surprised. That is massive workflow with that camera. 36 megapixels. That's huge files.
So Blake asked, are there a list of recommended softwares for people to play with? And I guess I'd have to go, use what you're using now, get comfortable with it, but start looking for things such as file management. Everybody should know at least one way how to rate, tag, create a favorite of an image, just somehow mark it. It's like, folding the page in a book. You're just identifying that page, so it makes it easier to come back to it later on. Yeah. So whatever software you're using, as part of file management, just be able to find an image again afterwards. And then that'll allow you to put on filters So if you do that to all the images that are really worthy of editing, out of 200 images, you may have only 5 or 6. But trying to find those out of the 200 images, you're spending almost all this time going back and forth through all the images to find the one that you liked.
Yeah.
If you put a rating on and put a filter on, then there's your 5 or 6 images.
A couple keywords. You can
And
type
then,
in one word, and every image you're looking for pops up.
if you're looking to spend the least amount of money, Photoshop Elements does have what do they call it? They call it I'm blanking out here.
Wow.
The organizer.
That's
Photoshop Elements comes sort of as 2 programs: the organizer for file management, and then the editor for editing your images.
so it's like 2 basic versions of Creative Suite and Bridge.
Kind of like that, yeah. Also has a RAW converter, RAW plugin that will convert and edit your RAW files. So it'll do a lot.
It's only $100.
And it's only $100. A lot of times you can get it on sale at Costco or at Staples. A lot of times it comes on sale for $59 Canadian.
And if you want to do video editing, you can get the 2-pack.
Yeah, it comes with Premiere Elements, which is their video editing software, about $149 for the 2-pack. So that'll get you going. Lightroom. Lightroom, I guess, would be the step up in the file management. And Lightroom works a little bit differently. A lot of people don't understand what it does to their photos. If you're not sure, maybe you want to find out before you start using it.
Yeah. I'm having a minor meltdown with all my file management right now, trying to figure out what goes where. But if I start getting into too much of that, then nobody will ever want to buy any software. So I'll just learn a little bit more and talk about that on a future show.
You should come to Daytripper Photo. They can teach you that,
It's funny. I was going to post on the community that I might have to sit in on the next Daytripper Photo Academy session on how to do all this stuff, but I'm sure I'll be able to do that. I'll sweet talk one of the guys.
On one software, they've got several different versions or levels of their software, from the basic level to the more pro level, and I think some of their software, I haven't explored it too much, is standalone software. So you don't need to use any other software. You can just open an image directly in that software.
Okay, now we should stop there for a second. We've talked about the Adobe product. Now, these Adobe products work with things called plugins, and what Darren's referring to is the On1 software and Photomatix and Nik and all these different softwares could be softwares on their own. You buy the software, you open it up, you do HDR, you do black and white or whatever. But a lot of folks will use them as a plugin to Lightroom or Photoshop. So you open up Photoshop or Lightroom, you're editing your photo there, you right-click or whatever, and you go to edit in Nik or On1 or something like that. So they could be standalone softwares where you can edit right in them, or you can use them as a plugin to another software, and then you save that image, it goes right back to Lightroom where you can re-edit again.
And really all that they're doing is they're creating a little shortcut that basically will open it up in the other software, do the editing, and then save it back and open it back in the software you were just in.
Right. But, of course, it brings it back as a TIFF, not the original RAW. So,
which is getting into more technical detail than we need to get into in this show. But I did find some cool software for my real estate work called Infuse, E-N-F-U-S-E, I think. And it works in Lightroom as a kind of plug-in like thing, but it's not really a plug-in because it works strictly in Lightroom. It doesn't take anything out, doesn't take it out of Lightroom, and it puts the picture back into Lightroom. So it blends basically for doing HDR, high dynamic range work, blending multiple images together into one.
Oh, so it's not for panoramic, it's for HDR?
It's for HDR.
Cool.
And it looks to be not too bad. The free version of it only gives you a 500 pixel wide resolution, so it's hard to tell on quality. And
actually, sorry, go ahead.
It's donation software, so you make a donation and they give you the unlock code. So I'm just wondering what their lowest donation point is.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of softwares that are out there, you could try. You can load them for a 30-day trial or a 15-day trial or something. You don't have to pay anything. Now, sometimes, like Photomatix, if you download Photomatix as a trial, it'll put across all your photos, Photomatix, a big watermark. but you still have all the controls, and you can still edit and play and learn what the software can do for you.
And it will remove those watermarks when you register it. So if you've done the work, you don't have to worry about doing the work again. It will remove those restrictions. Most of the software will do that.
That's good. So sometimes there's a little limitation before you pay for it, but ultimately you can get some software, try it out on your own. As Blake suggested, see how the interface feels. If it's easy for you, then automatically you have a different attraction to that software, and you can start working with it.
The best method for that, and there's a few companies that have done it, will give you 30 trials, 30 times to try it out before it locks you out or makes you pay for it, which in my view is really the best, because then, I don't even mind if you want to put a watermark on it, but to give it a 30-day trial, sometimes I'll install it, fully intending to try it out. Something comes up, I don't get around to it, suddenly 30 days gone like that, and now the software doesn't work.
30 days does fly by.
It does fly by. So, that's, if it does have the 30-day trial limit on it, then just make sure you can try it out before you install it.
Now, one of the softwares that I used to use a lot back when I was doing a lot of ad and newspaper ads and things like that was Corel Draw. And we have a community member, Denis, who loves Corel product, and he rants and raves how good it is. And this is just something that I haven't yet kind of gotten back into. As much as I would like to, I don't really know as much about it as I probably should. So have you got any experience with the Corel product?
Yeah, I used to use Corel Draw for doing my desktop publishing, for creating logos and things like that. I was better at Corel, and I liked Corel better than Photoshop back in the day. And I was more of a Corel guru than I was a Photoshop guru.
That's the first thing I worked on. I loved working with it. I loved resizing things, moving things around, the interface, how easy it was to work with. And I'm sure that's why Denis likes it so much, because they probably carried that, interface friendly forward to their current versions. So yeah, maybe that's something I'd look more into.
However, in the Corel version of software, the Corel Draw version of their software is different than the Corel Photo Paint, which would be your photo editing software.
Good point.
And it would be like Adobe Illustrator versus Adobe Photoshop.
So a graphics designer versus a photo designer.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think at that time they didn't really have a photo editing software. Well, they did have a basic photo editing software. And I tried it out a couple of times. It does a lot of what you can do in Photoshop.
Marjorie just says here she's used Draw for years. She still uses it because Illustrator is completely beyond her. And, that's valid. And I guess this is exactly the point, where Draw is a little bit more easy interface than Illustrator was. I've never really gotten behind Illustrator as well. And Corel was very intuitive for me, for this brain of mine.
Yeah, so once you know certain tasks that you want to do, then when you find out how do I do that in this other software, then it clicks into place a lot quicker.
So experiment, try different things. If you're Blake, you're going to learn this stuff in 2 minutes. Like Blake, you give him some software, next thing you know, he's a teacher of it. So there's some people who can just latch onto softwares really easily, where some people can't. Like this guy. So
yeah, and sometimes though it's not you; it is the software. Some software is just like buggy, pathetic software.
Yes.
Or there are glitches in it. It's great software, but it's got some really annoying glitches in it.
That's how iPhoto was for me. It was just really annoying. Never liked it. And it duplicated files. You import into iMovie. Next thing you know, your iMovie folder is 300 gigabytes, and you've got all the 300 gigabytes somewhere else, so you've got 600 gigabytes of space taken up by the software, and then everything slows down. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And, well, I really like Lightroom. There are some things in it that really annoy and bug the daylights out of me. And I really wish that Adobe would fix some of these things. Some of them are bugs, and some of them is just a basic functionality, usability of the software.
You should be a beta tester, and you should be able to give feedback and give some advice on these things.
So I've got an image open here. So you can see the side panel?
Yep.
So let's say that I want to move this temperature slider around because I want to fiddle around with the color. So This reminds me of the old transatlantic telephone days, where I click, drag, move the slider, let go, count to 10, and then I see it change. And then I click, drag, move the slider, count to 10, and then I see it change.
Yeah.
So that's...
You're not getting a real-time visual of what's happening.
You know, I've got a state-of-the-art computer, and why is it buggy like this? The other thing is that the fine adjustment, when I'm trying to make a fine adjustment, clicking on this slider and trying to move it, nudge it just a little bit, and especially when you get into the exposure slider, it jumps all over the map. And, you know, other than using your keyboard, and then depending on what you've clicked on, like, they don't have a simple, easy way. They should be able to make these sliders bigger if you want to, and then make it so that if you hold down another key on the keyboard, it gives you very fine control, so that to move it from this little bit, I move an area this wide,
micro
this much on the slider, right?
It's a good idea. I wonder if they have something like that we just don't know about.
I've looked at it, and so far I've never found anything. I've found, you know, like sometimes there's 3 or 4 ways of moving the slider, and if you hold down the control key or hold down the alt key, or if you click on the slider first, then you can use the arrow keys in the keyboard, but it gets into convoluted. You got to remember, you got to do this first and do that first, and then you're used to using the arrow keys to move on to the next photo, and you're hitting the arrow key to go, and then you didn't realize that it's changing the adjustment. Well, which adjustment was it? Then I got to go and look in the history, and if that panel isn't open, then you got... Okay, I digress.
Okay, so Gary Monroe has helped us with our problem. Thank you, Gary. You click and drag the number for fine control.
And that only works in, again, like I said before, about clicking and dragging and letting go, that the increments of adjustment are different. And I've tried that, and that's the one I'm usually using. But again, sometimes when I've used...
it certainly does help, though. It actually does help. Now that you mentioned it, I have done that. It's a good point.
It does help, but in the vertical alignment, when I'm trying to straighten this up, you click and drag here the numbers. A lot of times the numbers just jump right all over the map, just jumping around. And all I want to do is I want to move it, you know, 0.3. And yeah, you can click here in the box and go minus 3.5, and it rounds up on this one. So you can do that. But when I'm flying through my images, trying to get them done really quickly, that bugs me. It slows me down. And a lot of times I'll move it, I'll let go, and before I've let go, it suddenly changed by a large increment. So this is some of the things, you know, that sometimes it's not you, right? The software is just not engineered as well as it could be. So if you're trying to do something, it may not be anything to do with, you know, your level of understanding the software. It may just be the software is not designed for the way you like to use it.
Now, I definitely am the type that I like to focus on something specific. I don't like to try many, many different things. So my process takes a little bit longer than some others to finally find the software that works for me. So for me, I prefer to find something that just works. Learn how to do what I need to do with it and do that as well as I can. And then when somebody shows me something else, a neat little trick, I'll be like, yes, and then I can apply that to everything else that I do. So Dawn suggests you try the plus minus to increment. There's another suggestion for you there, Darren. Thank you, Dawn.
I can't, but the plus minus keys are on the right-hand side, and my mouse is on the right-hand side. And once again, you have to click on it first in order to get it to work.
I think what we really need is to bring Darren to the Matrix Academy and have that thing implanted in the back of his neck, and then you can just plug him in, and he can control everything just by thinking it.
But yeah, the plus minus keys will work when you click on it first. But if you don't click on the right thing, right now I clicked on the vertical and it's typing in the numeric value. It's typing in pluses and minuses. Oops.
Oh, interesting. Now, you made a point in our notes about time versus quality. What do you mean by that?
I've got somebody that I'm helping out in real estate photography, and she was telling me that she shot 2 tours, and it took her 15 hours, and she's not making a lot of money. So my first question was, you making a lot of money on these tours? No, I'm not making any money at all, really. So it's taking her 15 hours for the photography and the editing. And I was saying that, you know, like today I did 6 properties and drove 300 kilometers, and I'm still under 11 hours, and I had an hour for lunch. 'cause I had to wait for one of my appointments. But sometimes it comes into, is there better quality that I can do on this photo? Absolutely. In each photo, I could probably spend an hour on each photo to really kick it up, and dodge this and burn that, lighter here, darker here, change the color here, change the color there. But a lot of these photos, they have a very limited lifespan. They're going to be used, very briefly, and then move on to the next. And again, I'm not getting paid a lot for them. If I was charging $500 per image, then of course I would be spending a lot more time on it. Right. So I make them look really good, and I do it really fast. And that's where the money is.
And that's, Brian Watts, our friend Brian Watts, who shoots for the Ontario Junior Hockey League, he has to do the same thing. I mean, he has 12 minutes to cull down 300 photos to 10 photos and upload those to, the hockey gods. And but this is his need, so he uses his software that he likes to use that makes it very quick. Photo Mechanic, I believe he uses for that, which is a very quick way to cull your photos and rate them and do some quick adjustments. Yep. Then you have situations like mine where I'm going to do a screen share here.
I think Don was saying that he spends a lot of time editing his images. Mm-hmm. But he also said that he's, watching TV or doing something else. So I think that some of the things he's doing, once he does something, that the computer has to process what he's done.
Right. Well, and that's part of what Don does. He has 70 images he's merging, so he can line them up, he can do his alignments and say go, and come back in, well, his computer's a NASA computer, so come back in 20 minutes, and, they're all aligned, and then he can go to his next step and so on. With mine, what I end up having to do is, if you can see the photo that's up, you notice how the background is pure black.
Yep.
Well, when I shoot this, I'm shooting it against a black muslin backdrop, but you can see all the texture, you can see all the light coming through. It's done in the back room, in this mechanical room, where they have their lights on behind it, so the light's coming through the backdrop, and it's tough to really work with there. Very small space. So the time-consuming part for me is drawing around the entire person to make the background black, but anywhere there's black, like his gloves or his hair, especially if I'm taking a picture of people with shorter hair and darker hair, it's really hard to be able to isolate that with just drag and drop tools or any other means that I've found. So I literally have to draw around the area and make it black through Lightroom. So, that's the time-consuming part for me. And then, of course, flipping it into black and white is just a matter of opening it up in Silver Effects and choosing the look I like, and then Bob's your uncle. But that's a different thing that I just couldn't do if I was using any other software that I've ever tried. So if anybody has a better way to do that, please let me know.
I can let you know.
Okay.
Why are you using a black background?
I like to isolate.
Okay, so why not use a white background?
I could use a white background, but then entire PWE roster has to be reshot.
Really?
So for consistency and the fact that not every wrestler comes to every event, I have to make sure I keep that consistency. And the first couple of shots I made with a black backdrop because I liked that contrast, and that's what I practiced with.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Shoot them on a white background to get a black background. Brian's going, huh?
Oh, so that's easier to isolate.
Easier to isolate because you're making this selection to try to get rid of or to try to enhance the background. So it's hard, sounds like it's really hard to get a black background. But, if you got 100 Vivitar flashes from the garbage bin that people are throwing out because they're not good for anything else, you can daisy chain them all together to fire off all at the same time, hook them up to a slave, and then if you're in Photoshop, and I'll just do a quick screen share here.
Extra tip for everybody here. Pay attention.
For everybody here.
This is the $20 tip.
This is the $20 tip. And I just hit the wrong key. I'm trying to zoom this in on the screen. Okay, here we go. So if I use my my levels and I make a very bright sky.
See, this is actually how Blake was suggesting I try it, but the opposite way, making the background blacker.
If you blast out the background, you just take your quick selection tool. Oh, I've got to click OK on that. The magic wand. In one click, and it selected my whole sky.
And then you can just make that black.
I can just make that black. So let me see, make that work.
Aren't you a smarty pants?
So my foreground color was white. X, delete. I had to use, okay, foreground color again. So just see how the whole sky just changed different color?
Yep.
So if you do that with your wrestlers, you just make it a white background, then
Just
it'll make
blast it
making
right
the
out.
selections. So then you only have to worry about the white trim around his gloves that may blend into the background, but that's usually just a couple little lines. So if a lot of them have black hair, right, and they're tanned or darker skin, works great. Somebody like me, the white background may not work so well.
With the hair? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. But not too many guys who are wrestling have your hair, so, just saying.
Or hair at all.
And then there's that.
There's that. Did we just offend the follically challenged community?
It's always somebody, Darren. It's okay.
Please send the letters addressed to Daytripper Photo, care of.
But Daytripper Photo is not responsible for things Darren Gahan says. Anyway, so the time versus quality, do you feel that you've covered that topic well enough?
Yeah, and just looking to find an easier way. Sometimes you do the opposite to get the result that you want faster, and even though it doesn't seem intuitive, like you didn't understand what I was talking about shoot them on a white background. You say, well, I've shot them all on a back. Well, you're going to make the background black. It's just an easier way to get there.
Gotcha.
And if black doesn't work, try white.
And that's a great tip. And it's just like all photography, there's so many ways to get to the same result. And you got to keep your mind open to catch on to these really neat little things because they may change everything for you. Right?
That's it.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm just making a note about our upcoming photo challenge. I'm very excited about the theme for this coming week, so I'm kind of preempting what we're going to do. It's going to be challenging. Let's put it that way.
Oh, that's good. 'Cause I don't think we've been challenging enough.
No, I don't think so. I think we're ready to step it up a notch. We've got some folks out there who are really killing it every week, so we want to give some people a real challenge. All right. How do you feel about software? Good enough?
How do I feel about software?
Are we done?
I guess we covered the bases. There's different kinds, there's different types, different ways of using it, quirks in the software.
Lots of different things to look at, lots of different softwares to try. To kind of go back to Blake's question, what software would we recommend? I would recommend Lightroom. I would recommend Nik Suite, the entire Nik suite of plugins. They all offer something. One of my favorite photos I made this year was done very flukily. There's a word for you.
I guess it depends on who you are and what you like to do to your photo. Some people just like to take the photo that came out of the camera and make it look more like they saw it. And to do that, you would only need Lightroom.
Right. You just finish the photo.
Yeah. Some people like to take a photo and then kick it up a notch. Now, what's been done with this photo can be done, most of this can be done in Lightroom.
Mm-hmm.
But it's easier to do it in the plug-in software that'll add, the colors and, give you sort of like a one-click interface and allow you to play with them that way. This was in
Algonquin.
Algonquin, and you used on a perfect suite?
So this is a shot from our Algonquin day trip, sunrise trip that we just did, which Darren was on. And I opened it up in Lightroom. I did all my edits, and I'm looking at it, and I just wasn't feeling it. It was very flat. It didn't look anything like this for the color. And because of the lack of color and the drabness of the original photo, I wasn't inspired by it at all. So I opened it up in Nik through Lightroom. I exported it into the Nik Color Effects Pro, and I chose a split color tone, and it gives you complementary colors. So the first one I chose was this. I looked at it, I was like, holy crap, I actually really like the photo now, and it changed everything for me. And it was literally just click the one button. I adjusted the horizon line a little bit, so I brought the gold up into the sky level a little bit, and bada boom, bada bing, done. So it made a huge difference, and that was literally opened it up in a plugin, hit one button, done.
Have you ever tried split toning in Lightroom?
I have. In fact, I started split toning in Lightroom with this photo, and I didn't really get the effect I was looking for. But I know if I had spent some more time, I probably could have.
And this is what I've found, that if you don't know how to do that, or you're not good at doing it, then these plugins are really great because they've taken the work out of learning how to, tweak it and knowing what to do to make it work for you. They've taken that out, put it into this plugin that you take the photo, it goes into there, and bing, you kick it up a notch.
And Joseph Leduc says that with Topaz, On One, or Nick, you can make your own actions of your favorite workflow. So you can actually record the whole process that you do and then be able to duplicate that from the next photos on and on and on and on.
It's like a speed dial on a phone. If you're always calling the same telephone number, you just store it as a preset, or as an action would do more than one step.
Which would be great for me in my wrestling, but when I'm blacking out the entire background, which I probably won't do again, because I'm thinking I'm going to invest in a white background. When I'm doing all that, depending on how the person moves, it would be a completely different edit. So unfortunately, I wouldn't really be able to utilize that benefit for my workflow. That's just me.
There's lots of things that you can do. It's just a case of learning what it is and finding the software that allows you to do it the fastest and the easiest. And there are some things that you're going to need to do in 2 or 3 different software packages. For example, when I stitch my panoramas together, I use stitching software, and then when I edit it, I use Photoshop. So, and then I use Lightroom from all my other work. So I've got 3 software packages that I need to use to do the things that I do.
You know what? Joseph just recommended Topaz, or suggested Topaz. That's something we haven't even talked about. Another one of those really good options out there for people to try. So here's the list, guys. Topaz, On One, Adobe, where you've got Lightroom, Photoshop, and now there's the Creative Cloud. Creative Cloud, you pay an X amount of dollars a month, and you get every service they offer, including Lightroom and Photoshop Creative Suite and everything else.
I think they're still offering the $9.99 special for Photoshop, Creative Cloud, and Lightroom.
For those of you doing HDR work, I like Nick HDR effects, but then you have folks like Trey Ratcliffe, who is probably the best HDR photographer of all time, in my opinion. He swears by Photomatics, and I've never really clicked with that per se. So, again, it's just what's a preference for people. So Photomatics is really good to try. Corel Photo Paint, I think it's called. And what else, Darren?
Find out what other people are using and what communities are out there. You can go online, you can search now. So you search the communities, or how do I use this, or how do I use that, and find out what communities can help you. And then maybe you want to get the software that has a community of support. So if you don't like On One software and you like the Nick software, then you get Nick. Or maybe you like the On One software, you don't like Nick, or you like Topaz, and so you just look to see who's got something you like, who's got the best community.
Right. And then that's another factor that we haven't even talked about, support for the product. We've had Blake say many times that if he's had an issue with something, he posts on Google+, he hashtags the person, and he gets a reply right away. So with really good software, they're always trolling social media. They're always trolling Facebook and YouTube, not YouTube, but, well, probably YouTube, Facebook, all over the place. In fact, we were solicited by a really cool company lately for one of the shows we did, which is really exciting. So you put it out there, you ask for help, and you never know, you just might get it, including from Daytripper, which is really cool. Speaking of cool stuff from Daytripper, let's start talking about our photo challenge. This week's photo challenge was warmth. Which Darren suggested, which I thought was brilliant. We got some really cool shots. I'm going to do a screen share, and I'll bring up the photos. Yeah, sure. You want to do it?
Oh, okay.
Why not? Live on the edge, and you can do the talking. All right.
Photo doesn't limit you from talking.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Although, it's a good excuse. All right, here you go. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger here. You got too many windows open, I think. So maybe you should have opened up your screen share. There you go. Okay. So here we are. We're starting at the bottom with warmth, and that was Fred's photo, the first one. I gotta say, I love Fred's sense of humor with his photos. I love his approach to his photos. Everything's very real. What he sees is what we get. I love it. Here's a photo again, a Pioneer Winter Warmth. I believe that is a drawn fire.
I believe so.
Yeah, great. It definitely shows warmth, and if I make this larger here, you can see he's got the pots burling and a nice comfy chair sitting there.
Sitting by the fire is always nice and warm.
Absolutely. And I find a lot of people interpret warmth as in yellow.
Yellow is a warm color. There's cool colors, there's warm colors, so reds and yellows are warm colors.
And you can see here there's two examples of great photos of flowers. Julie and Marjorie. Now, I got to admit, I like flowers as much as the next guy. I'm almost a little bit over flowers right now. I'm just saying. These are beautiful photos. I'm just saying. And I'm just one guy. I'm just one guy. But anyway, I digress. I really love this photo because of a very specific reason. When I was younger, living in Montreal, we always used to go and get those little buttercup things, and we'd hold it under the chin, and if it shined yellow, we'd say you like butter. And we didn't realize light reflects, of course, because we were kids. Anyway, so this reminds me of those times, hanging out with my sister or my brother, holding the little yellow flower under their chin and seeing the yellow reflect up on their chin. It's good moments, good memories.
I like the soft focus around the petals around the outside. It's almost like a beam of sunlight radiating.
Mm-hmm. So that's a great shot there by Marjorie. Julie, love Julie's stuff always. Little dark contrast. I think a little fill flash would have been really nice in this. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm just putting it up full screen. Yeah, it's got a little bit of distraction with the oranges that are behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And she would have taken out the chainsaw, cut down that other bush, and just had it against the blue
There you go,
sky.
Julie. There you go. That's what you got to do for next time. We will pay for the gas.
Or using a diffuser to
soften the light from behind.
Soften the light.
Yep. All right. So, Mark, again, talk about somebody with a sense of humor.
The hot sauce.
Hot sauce. Okay, where's his comment? Oh, it's not showing here.
I tried that this winter. It didn't help melting the snow.
Here's his comment. I was looking for some warmth today when I stumbled across these blooming in my garden. I didn't know what they were. A friend planted them for me. They're certainly going to make my meals a little warmer. So there's Mark's photo for warmth with hot sauce that'll expire in 2017. And I love Google Plus because you can do this.
Only if someone's shot it in a higher resolution.
That's right. So that's pretty cool.
That reminded me of the Mott's Clamato juice. Made me thirsty.
Yeah. Made you want a Caesar.
Made me want a Caesar.
Scrolling up. Joseph's photo, and I don't know why it's not showing here, but there it is right there. And again, this is one of those photos that means something different to me because of a personal experience I've had. These are actually, this is autumn rose or something like that, the pattern on these with the gold trim on the teacup. This is actually something that my grandmother left for me when she passed away. And these are things that we have, my wife and I, kind of cherish, and seeing the cup like that in the photo really was nice. But Darren made a very good point about this photo. And I'll let Darren make that point.
Oh, I just said he could have enhanced it a little bit by having a little steam coming off the tea.
Yep, so just throw that thing in the nuker for a few seconds and watch everything explode.
Oh, heck no. You just grab some smoke off the internet and paste it in as a layer.
There you go.
Let somebody else make the smoke.
Oh, Blake has a correction for you, Darren. The photos have to be posted in a higher resolution, not just shot in a higher resolution.
Yes, that's what I meant, Blake.
Yes.
I strip mine down. When I post my photos, I post them at 1,500 pixels wide, so there's usually not much to zoom in on mine.
Fair enough. All right, well, there was Joseph's photo. Warmth comes from a nice hot cup of tea and a
warm
good
cup of tea, sit down and read a book, warm your heart.
And Danielle also has her flower photo, also yellow. It's very common for yellow flowers right now.
The sun is yellow, so I wonder where we got that idea.
Wanted to share sun and warmth, and it looks just like a sun. You're absolutely right.
It does.
Great detail. Again, if I make it bigger, I like the little border she's put on there. Kind of gives a nice edge. There's Danielle's photo. And then moving up, Rhonda, the comfortable warmth of a book. Now, there's a lot of warmth in this shot. There's the fur there's the color of the books, there's the topics of the books. So, lots of different reasons that there would be warmth here. The comfortable
Earth tone colors.
Yeah, that's right. Very good stuff. Thank you, Rhonda. And this one here was good too. This is also, I believe, from Fred. Yes, it is. Warm enough for the challenge. It's been quite cold lately. So there she is. She looks toasty, Chris says.
And standing in the shade this spring, it was quite cool out, so you would still need the hand warmers.
Yes, for sure. And Rhonda also posted this shot here. Now, I get the concept of it. I like the concept of it, and I like how, you know, warmth, candles in the fireplace. I find it like, and I think you agree with me on this, Darren. It's a bit busy. Darren? Darren's not with us.
Darren is here. He just had to take care of a little task.
Oh, fair enough.
Hopefully you wouldn't notice that I was gone for just a split second. Yeah.
I just rely on you way too much.
It looks like the candles are in the hearth of a fireplace, or not the hearth, but the grate, the grill of a fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
So that's creating the place, replacing the fire, the flames in the box, I guess.
Yep. The romantic warmth of candlelight is her topic.
So there's definitely lots of candles in that. And
Yeah.
that would make some heat.
It could. It could. That's the way they used to do it back in the day.
You'll need some this coming weekend. It's supposed to be cool.
Awesome. I love the cool. I'm so tired of the heat already. I can't wait for winter. I don't know what's wrong with all you people. Anyway, I thought this was pretty cool too. Apparently, Rhonda went to a martial arts event, and she says, feeling the warmth. You can tell this dude's totally hot. Well, hang on a second. Scratch that. Rewind.
That's just Brian with the spray bottle trying to get the shot. That's all it is.
Come here. Spray, spray, spray. Very cool. And the next shot she posts is right here. She calls the heat of the moment. Quite a bit of texture she's added to this. I would say that this is probably a single image HDR that she's tried to create.
Or a plug-in Nick or on
Could have
one.
been, yeah. Great detail. All right, and Lori brings a little warmth to my heart. Now, there is a story behind this photo, I believe. I think she woke up on Mother's Day to this. I think her daughter made it for her.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So I love the photo. I love the tone. I love the vignette. The detail where you can totally see that those are little hearts that have been, you know, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, riveted in.
And with a little bit of shadow detail, we can see the depth. It's giving it some dimension.
Exactly.
Going back to the previous week's challenge.
That's right. This would have been a good one for shadow as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice shot, Lori. Marjorie, brilliant with this flower as well. Again, the yellow colors, the good use of light. You can see that it's not too bright. There's still all the texture in the flower petal.
And the black background that you know so well.
Oh, don't talk to me about black. I am so over the black background now. I'm just kidding. Actually, there's a lot of nice shadow in this on the opposite side of the petals.
Yeah.
Very cool. And guess who's back, ladies and gentlemen? Chris is back. She's been absent for a little while. She hasn't been posting too much. Darren, you know your video's still off, right?
Oh, is my video still off?
I just died.
There we go.
Dar. So this is called My Grand Princess. My Grand Princess turned 3. 2 seconds to admire herself in the oval mirror, and off she went like the wind. So this obviously warms her heart, and this is Chris's photo for warmth, which is very cute. Quite a bit of work done on that makeup.
There is, and then the orange and yellow are earth tone colors, which we would relate in photography terms to warm colors.
Mm-hmm.
So that's.
And the pink over her eyes as well.
Yep.
Very nice shot. One of those split-second shots, you know, you only have a split second to take it, and it works out. And here goes back to Fred's humor that I love, keeping the eggs warm. This submission originated today, believe it or not, in Lowe's parking lot. This is what we get up here in Ontario. In Lowe's parking lot, we have the Canada Goose who just plop themselves down, and that's where the babies are coming from. So you gotta love it.
Yeah, you can, go to Lowe's, pick up the barbecue, lift up the bird, get a couple of eggs, put them on the barbecue. Nice.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Leave the birds alone. And you can see in the next photo he posts the behind the scenes. There's this little guy. There he is.
Keeping guard on the nest.
I wonder if this happens all over the world with these Canada goose, or if it's only up here.
Only in Canada, you say? Pity.
Pity, pity.
Pity, pity.
All right. Well, those are some phenomenal photos. Thank you, everybody, for submitting this week. And the winners of this week's challenge, first place goes to Chris with her princess photo. Well done, well done. Awesome photo. Second place this week goes to, bam, Lori for her I Love You Mom photo. And third place goes to, I love the drum roll. It just makes me happy. Wait, okay, let's try that again. And third place goes to Joseph's T photo. Excellent work, everybody, and excellent work, Darren, with the sound effects. I'm very impressed by that. That's
taken me 84 episodes, but I finally caught on.
It's awesome. Okay, now some honorable mention photos. Marjorie's, the buttercup flower, and the other flower photo, both very nice. And again, we like that contrast of the yellow and black and white, or yellow and black contrast. I love that. I love Fred's keeping the eggs warm, and of course, Darren mentioned Mark's photo of the hot sauce in the garden. Excellent photos, and thank you everybody so much for submitting. We are a little bit over our time right now, so that's okay. It's not like we haven't been over our time before, right, Darren? Awesome, awesome. So thank you everybody so much for watching the show this week. The photo challenge for this coming week. All right, now please don't smack me, people. Well, you can. Yeah, exactly. All right, photo challenge this week is sounds.
Cool.
How are you going to make sounds in a photo, people? I'm really interested to see what you do for sounds.
I'm going to place a bet. I'm not going to say it on air because I know that this person will submit the photo if I do, but I know who's going to post a photo, and I know exactly what the photo is going to be of.
Is that right?
That's right. I'll tell you off air.
You write it in an envelope.
Write it in an envelope,
date
seal
it,
it up,
and sign it.
We'll open it next week.
With a wax seal.
Wax
and
seal.
Next week you can open that up, and we'll reveal what your choice was. So anyway, sounds is the photo challenge for this week. Thank you, Darren, so much for taking the time out of your crazy busy day today and being on our show. As always, appreciate it. And to Gabriel, I hope you feel better soon, man. It sucks getting sick week after week, and I know how much you love being on the show, and I'm sure you're missing it profusely right now as you're stuck in bed, perfusing. I don't know.
Profusing?
It's me.
Okay.
Just words happen to just pop out of my face every once in a while. Anyway, so Darren, anything else to add today?
No, we'll have to wish Gabriel well and hope that he comes back. And then also make sure that he doesn't pass along any germs next time he comes on a day trip.
See, that's the great part about this show, is that we don't have to worry about getting germs from Gabriel. Right? We can do the whole show and never have to worry about getting sick.
Yeah.
That's about the only way. Anyway, if anybody would like to hire Darren to help him help them understand help you understand how to use Photoshop, Elements, Lightroom, any one of these crazy softwares that we've been talking about tonight, most of them at least. Darren, how can folks get a hold of you?
Darren at dgvirtualtours.com.
There you go. And, by the way, there have been many a time when I'm talking to customers at the store at Henry's, where I work full-time, and you can come see me there, and you can email me anytime you have a question about a camera, and you can even ask me if you need to pick something up at a different location. I can help you with that, too. But many a time, I'm sitting on the sales floor, and somebody comes up to me and asks me for services that would suit people like Darren or Gabriel or myself, and, of course, I can help you get in touch with them as well. And, of course, I'm Brian. with the Daytripper Photo thing, check out the website, daytripperphoto.com. If you're interested in coming on any day trips with us, you'll have a blast, you'll have a great time, and you'll hopefully learn quite a bit. June 8th is our next one. It's a falconry. We're going to have the birds of prey coming back to us. There will be 8 new birds of prey, 7 new birds of prey, and, of course, the bald eagle, because you can't have a session without the bald eagle. I mean, it's the coolest bird ever.
And we're going to teach people how to shoot 2 birds with 1 cannon, as opposed to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
Special, on this day trip only.
That was clever. That was good.
And the jokes will be better by the time the trip comes around. I promise you. Or they just will be non-existent.
Exactly.
I will be gagged, and I will not speak.
We've tried that, Darren. It doesn't work. Anyway, thank you so much for being on, Darren. We're going to say goodnight to everybody. Hope you all have a great week. And remember to submit your photos for sounds. And I can't wait to see what you do. I've already got an idea for myself, and you guys are going to be impressed. Now I put pressure on myself. Cool. All right. Night, everybody. Night, Darren.
Night.
Take care, everyone.